You get it? Step away from the young lords. Young lords? Taking a look around, we are exactly where we left off from the last story. A mysterious masked assassin is charred and burned on the ground thanks to Sasuke and Tsuki, who are currently farther away and also being encircled by Anbu from the Sand Village, while Naruto, Gaara, Kankuro, and Temari are all encircled by Anbu. Step away from the young lords, we won't say it again. Okay. Naruto would say, holding his hands up as he takes a step back. Gaara would be confused as to what's going on. So, for some reference, Gaara's already had multiple assassination attempts on his life, with his uncle being his first kill. But Gaara isn't fully immersed in the darkness like he is by the time we see him in original Naruto canon. Anyway, both Naruto and Sasuke hold their hands up as the Anbu proceed to take them into custody, under the false pretense that they would be the ones who had attempted to assassinate Gaara, the Kazekage's young son, not to mention his other two children, who are not Jinchuriki. Naruto and Sasuke's hands would be bound roughly, as the two would be practically pulled along by the Anbu, walking towards a huge stone building in the center of the village. As most of you probably already guessed, this is the Kazekage's office. But to be more precise where Sasuke and Naruto would be taken, it's beneath that building. Now, let's get down to business. Naruto would have seals on his hands behind him, blocking his chakra paths, so he couldn't perform magic, even verbally. Naruto's looking around, analyzing his surroundings. Sasuke has moved to a different room. The man before him, polishing his kunai off each other, before slamming them into the table, would introduce himself to Naruto. Well, I guess my first question is, what's your name? And don't give us any bullshit. Naruto would look up, his silver eyes reflecting into this man's pale green ones. You know, it's quite rude to ask someone their name without giving yours first. Fine, I'll play your little game. Juuhaku. There you go. Are you satisfied now? Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Juuhaku. You can call me by Asura, but do try not to wear it out, Naruto would say with a cheeky grin. The older man would kick Naruto in the stomach, sending him flying back in the chair against the stone wall, coughing. Yeah, not smiling so much anymore, huh? There's a reason I got my nickname the Erroder. I like to wear down my interrogations nice and slow. Naruto, lying on his side on the floor, would finally have a somewhat good angle to look up at his oppressor, Juuhaku, the Erroder, one of the Sand's finest head of investigation leaders. Naruto gritted his teeth, saying, "Oh, the moment I get these seals off, I'm gonna burn you to a crisp." Naruto would notice a flicking of motion, and he sees small crystal orbs in the walls. "Oh, I see how it is." "Joking, of course," Naruto would say, smiling. "I would never do something like that." Behind the wall, we could see a small orb that would have chakra feeding through it, this being very similar to what would be done later years in the 4th Great Shinobi War, where the investigation unit, people with the mind transfer jutsu from the Inoyaga clan, would apply a similar technological and chakra feat to show and display the battlefield. But this would be on a much smaller scale, of course, simply displaying and recording the room. What keen eyes. Noticing the cameras already, huh? It's pretty impressive, Juuhaku would say. Well, if you don't admit to being the culprit soon, the next unfortunate fellow to be in here will be the one seeing those pretty eyes. Eyes? Oh, Lord Jashin eyes. Oh, if they find out Sasuke has those special red Uchiha things. Oh man, I gotta say Sasuke. Naruto pulled himself up saying, "Well, it's been fun, but I guess it's time to go," as Tsuki would suddenly manifest next to him. A summoning? Tsuki would burn away the seal, but seemingly just as Naruto was about to make his great escape to go save his friend and ally and hightail it out of there, getting some supplies on the way so they can finally head to Shikotsu Forest deeper in the Land of Wind, something would happen. A crow would come crashing through the door, bursting into the room with feathers pluming around it, as it would dive on Juuhaku, now immediately putting him into a genjutsu, as he meets the crow's eye falling to the ground. A crow? Seeing this bird would cause sentiments in Naruto to rise, because his mother's spirit, the bird that had saved him that same day too, was a crow. Well, I guess a raven, but it's all the same. Anyway, Naruto would pull himself up as the raven turns, seeing that Naruto's already escaped his bindings, as the bird would almost gesture with its head to follow him. Naruto would question this for a second, but think, whatever, as he and Tsuki would then chase after the bird. Suddenly, a young woman would come crashing out of the room with long black hair and red eyes. "Oh, good, you're out already," she'd say, as she's holding Sasuke in one arm, now slumped over her shoulder, as Naruto and this unknown girl would run out of the underground basement, trying to escape the Anbu who were now alerted of their presence. "Follow me," she'd say, as Naruto chases after her, Tsuki right on her tail. They would come up a set of stone stairs leading up to a metal gate, this being the underground bunker that would lead directly behind the Hokage's office into the basement, this underground section being the interrogation unit's main base area, aside from other camps throughout the Sand Village. "Through here," she'd say, as she then runs forward, taking her leg out and kicking the door, thrusting the metal open with supreme strength. Damn, she's strong, Naruto would think, but something still felt off. Anyway, the two would finally make it outside as sands would be blowing through. Perfect. People were having shawls on over their heads to block the sand, meaning people wouldn't see where they're going. "Let's get onto a rooftop or something," she'd say, as she would then rush with Naruto, climbing using chakra onto the side of a building. Naruto using his own magic and using some gravity manipulation to do the same, as he then runs up the wall, Tsuki wrapping herself around Naruto, as now all four of them would have made it to the top, the crow landing on her hand, as it would then sneak past her ear, appearing to almost whisper something. The crow would disappear, as she would set Sasuke down, never turning to look at Naruto. "What is he doing here?" she'd say. He? You know my friend?" "If he was your friend, you wouldn't bring him here during this time. It's the Chunin exams, didn't you know?" The Chunin exams?" Naruto would ask, having no idea what the hell that is. Naruto was read like an open book. She could tell he had no idea of what the Chunin exams were or why it was so dangerous. "Don't you know that the governments all have a strenuous time around this time? It's the perfect time for a terrorist attack, wouldn't you agree? And you just had to go after the 3 kids of the Kazekage, didn't you? Do you know how dangerous it would be for this kid?" she would say, looking back to Sasuke almost affectionately. "Whatever, I have business to attend to. But before I go, don't tell him who helped save you both. Alright? Not a word. The moment you do, I'll know, and I'll come and kill you," she'd say, as she turns back. "Don't let him get hurt." She jumps off the side of a building. As Naruto leans over asking, "Hey, wait!" she'd be gone. Only a flock of crows moving into the wind. "What a strange lady," he'd say. As Naruto turned back, Sasuke began to wake up. One moment I was... Naruto! What happened? We were taken into custody and then everything's a blur. I think they used some sort of genjutsu on me. How did we... Are we on a rooftop? How did we... They're over there! No time for this. Sasuke, come on! Tsuki and Sasuke would then leap off the building, Naruto giving chase as he turns using a boreas wind, pushing the Anbu who were about to give chase to them back to the ground. As Naruto and Sasuke and Tsuki are running through alleyways, they'd suddenly hear a, "Over here!" as Naruto would turn, seeing a hooded figure with red hair. Naruto would grab Sasuke by the collar and Tsuki, as they would then turn into the alleyway abruptly, running into it, with the boy, shorter than Sasuke even, would then flip his hand up, a wall of sand hardening and constructing to form a solid wall before the Anbu could have seen where they went. "They went that way," they'd be thinking, as they kept running down the street. Naruto would turn around as the boy would pull his hood off, with it being, You're that kid, the young lord who got me into this situation." Gaara would nod, wondering why he himself was doing a kindness for a stranger he had never met before. I have to ask you a question," Gaara would say. A question? For me? Sasuke would be panting, Tsuki right beside him, as Naruto now leaned back against the wall and slumped to the ground. "Well, ask away. You kinda saved our necks anyway. Oh, that Juuhaku gotta be pretty pissed if he got back on me right now. But I'd probably kick his ass." "How can you be so confident?" Gaara would say. "Oh, is that your question?" No, it's not my question," Gaara would stumble. "Why am I even bothering with this? There's no point. There's no reason to be interested in people anyway. Why do I even care?" Gaara would internalize. "Your question?" Naruto would say. Gaara would snap back out of it as he looks forward, his eyes, which had been cloudy, now clearing up as his empty pale eyes meet Naruto's silver ones. "Oh, I just wanted to ask you why you tried to save me. Don't you know what the people in this village say?" "The people in this village?" Naruto would say. They call me a monster," Gaara would claw, replying back to Naruto. Naruto, hearing this, would have fond memories of when he as a child had summoned a fully grown spirit, that being Tsuki, and all the other kids calling him a monster too. Maybe that was a bad thing here? Naruto didn't quite get it. Naruto always felt pretty proud of himself that he had full power while the other kids were always whining and complaining that they didn't have it like he did. Naruto would start laughing. Yeah, it does feel pretty good, doesn't it? Gaara would get kind of annoyed by this. Good? Being called a monster? What do you even mean? Huh? Is it not good? Naruto would say. As Gaara would say, never mind. This is pointless. Go on, get out of here. I don't want to see you again anyway. Hey, that's not fair, Sasuke would say. Naruto saved your life. That guy attacked you and your siblings and that's how you repay him? What a brat. Oh yeah, you want to say it to my face, Gaara would say, as he turns to Sasuke, saying he saved them just now, so he'd call that getting back even. And it's not like I even needed your help anyway. I've had people try and do that hundreds of times before until now. You being there didn't make anything different. I would have turned out fine just like I did then. Just like when my uncle tried to. Gaara would stop, grabbing his face. When he tried to. The repressed memory would be coming back, seeing his uncle, the one person Gaara in the world thought cared about him, his mom, cared about his existence. When he pulled the hood back, or the first person who tried to kill him, and what did Gaara see staring back? That person, the only person who Gaara had truly ever loved. Gaara would then grab his head in a pain, as Juuhaku was beginning to take over. Sasuke, get back, Naruto would say. What? Sasuke would quickly activate his Sharingan, as a bullet of sand would barely streak past his face, Sasuke almost unable to dodge it, getting a streak of blood shot across his forehead. Fuck! The finishing of Sasuke's word would be blurred out by the whirling of sand, as the wall behind Naruto and Sasuke would crash, Naruto holding his arms out in an X formation, blocking the attack with wind magic, as a wall of sand would thrust forward, battling against Naruto's magic, and shooting him, Tsuki, and Sasuke all the way across the street into the bazaar area. Everyone would turn as they were out shopping during the day, and they suddenly see it. The One-Tails, the Juuhaku, the bringer of sandstorms. Run for your fucking lives! Oh, Jashin, damn it, Naruto would say, as he then tries to use wind magic to dispel the sand. But this sand, it's like it has a will of its own. Naruto would be trying to defend, but One-Tails mode Gaara is just on a different level than any of the Anbu he's fought so far. Oh, kid, I'm sorry about this, Naruto would say. Tsuki! Naruto would wave his hand forward, using two fingers as he flicks up, then down, and left and right, as an X of flame would be marked into the air, Naruto then pulling his hand back and forcing a palm open, pushing it, as a blade of pure heat would come launching from Naruto's body from his magic, slicing through the sand as it forms shards of glass. Gaara getting an X mark on his chest of pain, heat, and blood boiling. It's so hot! It's hot, it's hot, it's hot! It's burning! Gaara be scratching on his chest trying to rip the flames off, but it wouldn't work. Naruto would have used one of his Asura-type spells, a technique that only he could use because he was born with the affinity for the sun. A quick sealing-type magic using the burns of the sun to inflict pain onto the enemy until they pass out from heat stroke. It's pretty brutal, but it's nothing that someone can shrug off for a while. Gaara would try and restructure himself, but the rage and Juuhaku would be taking him over. As Juuhaku's arm would form, Gaara lunging forward as he tries to strike Sasuke. Naruto remembered that lady's words as he jumps in front of the way, taking the blow. Naruto! Sasuke would say. Naruto getting slammed into Sasuke as they go flying through her tent. Tsuki would yip as she feels the pain from Naruto, his arm having completely shattered. Gaara would turn towards Tsuki as Naruto calls her back as she bursts into flame just as Gaara's about to strike her, his hand getting temporarily turned to glass. Tsuki resummoned his flames next to Naruto's side, as Tsuki begins working on healing Naruto's arm, mending the bones with flame, charring, and coagulating the blood, the same technique that Naruto had used to heal Eijiro's father before in the Land of Rivers. I can't keep this up forever, he'd be thinking. My healing's not nearly as efficient as Hidan. Sasuke, I don't know if I can take him right now. Can you stand? Sasuke would try to stand as he pulled himself up, feeling sand and dirt rubbed over his skin. He'd cough as he then tells Naruto, yeah, I'm fine. Let's get out of here. Naruto and Sasuke and Tsuki would turn to run. As they begin running, Naruto would hear a cry out for help as Naruto turns around, seeing Gaara's face. That's not him, it's something's controlling him. As Tsuki and Sasuke keep running, Naruto would turn to his back heel as he turns and runs back to Gaara, as he reaches his hand out to grab Gaara's. Almost as if on cue, the Kazekage would arrive. Naruto would get blown away with a force so powerful his ribs would shatter as he goes flying through the bazaar, crashing into a stone building, as Naruto would almost fall unconscious. Sasuke would turn with his Sharingan, barely able to see what happened, as the Kazekage began reforming the seal around Gaara and Juuhaku to minimize the damage. Gaara, how many times have I told you to be careful? That bloodlust of yours, it's disgusting, it's leaking everywhere. What a failed child. The Kazekage would continue to seal Gaara until he'd feel no emotions at all, Gaara slumping over onto the ground, his hand having only been millimeters away from where Naruto's was, before Naruto was blasted. Naruto had been hit by iron sand, a specialty of the Kazekage, something Gaara didn't have the capability to use, and something that hit like a truck. Naruto is unconscious. Tsuki and Sasuke barely moved in time to grab him as they get out of the way, before the Kazekage notices and finishes him off, or any of the Anbu arrive. We have to get out of here, Sasuke be thinking, as he continued running down alleyways. Sasuke's short stature causing Naruto's body to drag across the cobblestones, as Naruto, Tsuki, and Sasuke would inevitably escape to the outskirts of the city, into the slums. But inevitably, Sasuke himself would also get exhausted, Naruto seemingly nowhere near recovery. Tsuki was also slowly fading, with Naruto's consciousness being directly tied to her chakra in existence. Naruto being unconscious like this was causing her chakra to lose connection, and so Tsuki would inevitably disappear, causing Sasuke to have to carry the brunt of Naruto all by himself. Sasuke, sweating and heaving from running, would eventually fall flat onto a doorstep, with Naruto still unconscious, as Sasuke himself would begin to fade out of consciousness, only seeing in front of him an elder man and an old hag. Sasuke would barely have the energy left to whisper, "Please, save him," as his body would lose its strength, falling into consciousness.
Why not, Chiho? This could be some fun.
And so the honored siblings, Ebizo and Lady Chiho, would take in both Naruto and Sasuke, as the two would drag the unconscious boys back to their hermit domain, with an indoor pond and almost an atrium far on the outskirts of the village. Sasuke at this point would have no knowledge that for the next week and a half, his life would become training, sleeping, eating, and training, as you get into the next stage of the Tsunagakure arc, the Chunin exams. If you guys like this addition to the story of Warlock Naruto, I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to hit that like button, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this from me. Make sure to go check out my second channel if you want to be extra supportive. Anyway, I'm so curious what you guys are thinking of this arc in Tsunagakure, because we're getting into the meat of things now, from the Kazekage to some mysterious women who saved Naruto and Sasuke, and what's Naruto going to do after getting hit by the Kazekage like that? Anyway, all those questions and more will be happening in the next part of the story, which will be Story 8 for What If Naruto Was a Warlock. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one.